Hey, guess what, White Sox fans? We're here as promised. We're doing it because we promised. We do not break our promises at Southside Sox. It's postgame podcast number 6. Again, we've had bigger highlights to talk about, say, like a Carlos Rodón no-hitter, maybe even game 1 of the ALDS, which was actually less of a loss than this last one. Oh, no, it was equal. Astros 9, White Sox 4. Don't ask me for details about this game. I'm a blank. I've been more focused on social media takes and I don't know, editing our superb coverage of this series so far. Jackie Cressel's recap was absolutely on point. Terrific piece. Zach Hayes with me now. Smiling Zach. Terrific six pack. Celeste Redondo worked on the social media piece and she did a pretty fun job with that. Oh, and we're going to continue doing it as long as they're playing. You might just get one really great day of coverage because it could be over on Sunday. Who figured? All right. Well, the man who has a ticket to game 4, and he is desperately hoping he gets to see that game 4. It's Adrian Serrano joining us. Zach, I don't remember. Are you seeing games 3, 4, neither, both?
I will be there for game 3. I was a game time decision for game 4. I'm kind of leaning in the no category if it happens.
Oh, that's going to change after game 3.
I know it will. I know it's going to, but I'm telling myself this until we get there.
Fair enough. You in the blackout garb, I'm digging it. We better get at least one photo. Oh, I'm fired up for you. As someone lucky enough to go to the original, oh, it's fun. It will, especially a night game. Even if this is not the original one, I think it's going to kick ass, and I think it will go down as one of your favorite games ever. It would help if they win that game, but I guess we'll get to that game previewing game 4 or game 3 soon enough. Let's talk about game 2 because it was going better for a while there. I would argue that maybe the first half of the game was pretty darn good. How about the instant takes on the game from both of you?
Instant takes. I'm going to stay positive just to start this off at least. 6 for 9 with Luis Robert and Tim Anderson. I very much enjoyed that. Tim Anderson, the ultimate respect when you get the reliever with the 98, 99 mile an hour fastball and he throws you 3 sliders. Those are kind of the quick takeaways. Otherwise, everybody knows.
Yeah. Zach, are you going to reflect the positivity?
I have difficulty feeling the supreme emotional letdown that I'm sure many people do right now, and very understandably so. Partially because I'm on medication, and secondly, because this is nothing new. I've been preparing myself for this for a while. It would be one thing if they had kind of hit a wall here and said, like, oh my God, like all these things that have been working are suddenly not working. This is a story, whether it is the questionable bullpen decisions or the offense not executing or Giolito just not quite having his command. I have less of a problem with him than anybody else at this point, but regardless, these are not new flaws, and that they're happening against a really good team is not the most surprising thing in the world, unfortunately.
Yeah. Is that a key element of the fact that we've got our 2 horses going in these first 2 games, both of them unable, I believe, to complete even 5 innings. Giolito starting, I guess Lynn also started strong in game 1, and just this Houston team working at bats in a way that is going to break you down sooner than later.
Yeah. They're definitely a lineup that's going to make you throw early strikes, or you're going to kind of just battle them for the whole game. But luckily, I feel like as Sox fans, I'm bummed, thoroughly bummed, but I feel prepared for this level of disappointment after today. Like you said, I'll have, amnesia, and come game 3, if it goes well, I'll be, very happy about it. But echoing Zach, it's just a lot of stuff that we've kind of known, like some of these weird decisions, maybe people out of place, maybe Tim breaking early, maybe it was a alignment issue. We don't know for sure, but throughout the whole year, we've known it's kind of a poorly coached team. Like they kind of make a lot of very amateurish mistakes consistently enough. Now we have 164 games in, and I can say that they make a lot of mistakes. Stuff like just little things. Yohan throwing home yesterday, probably wasn't going to get him no matter what. Cost a run ultimately. So just a little stuff like that. it didn't sneak up on us as fans or them as a team, I hope,
And then things like not shifting the defense and, the Larry to right field move are things that you can do 9 times out of 10 and it'll work fine. But it didn't in the biggest moment. And it's the manager and the coaching staff's job to discern what that risk level is and what that moment is. Like, I don't know. The Astros do hit a lot of hard line drives and fly balls to right field. Just a consideration. I feel like there's a lot of things that we feel like should be considerations that almost are too obvious. And it's like, they should know this, right? Like if I'm thinking it, they should be thinking it.
Well, like we fall into this, we fall into the Leary legend thing every year. I love him. He's a great player. He's a great piece to have, but like, we all know the truth that we hide behind all of our jokes and everything is that like, the more you see Leary out there, the more you're reminded like he's not a starter, but he's a great piece to have and he's flexible and he can really, when he gets hot and has a good year, he had a great year, great person to have. But like the more you have somebody like that out there that like has proven now through a pretty long career that they're not a starter at any of these positions that they play, you're gonna eventually get that exposed. And unfortunately, it was a big moment today with him and Wright. But like he said, makes that probably, at least 8 times out of 10,
Yeah, Leary is a lot more palatable as the clear worst guy on your team or in your lineup. If he's really the weakest spot, all right, maybe you can live with it. Clearly, not like among 3 guys or like, not the bottom third of the order. And that's, and that's frustrating. And the thing that is heartbreaking to me is that double play he turned. I mean, I think I had said that it was like, man, it was like the best I ever seen. Okay, it probably wasn't, but the idea that he did the pirouette on one leg, he had the strength. I mean, okay, slow runner, but I mean, it wasn't exactly a hard hit ball either. So that had to be a bang, bang play. Throwing a flat foot, as much as we say about Tim Anderson with a strong arm, that play was impressive. And then an inning later, he becomes the defensive weak spot because he gets turned around on a very challenging ball that you can't even say with any real definition that Adam Engel would get. Of course, the better chance of Adam Engel getting it, of course. But yeah, it is frustrating, and it's not the stuff you want to see exposed. And Houston is by no means playing.
They're the real deal,
Like they're strong.
They have talent at all the positions you'd want to have talent at, and they have kind of the lineup. And their lineup has been playing like we thought the Sox lineup was. We thought the Sox lineup was going to be like, oh man, there's hitters at every position, and like now here we are, and like. Yeah, the bottom 3 is kind of like maybe they will, probably won't, but like let's wait to get back to Tim again, like, and that this was supposed to be kind of a change to the new, like we're gonna have talent and danger at every position, but we haven't even seen an extra base hit yet in this series. Like and things, there's no danger in singles, like
and I mean things do need to click perfectly in any postseason run, no matter how good you are. They are for Houston. They're getting a lot. There's some seeing-eye plays. There's some defensive plays. They're a better defensive team, but they're getting there for plays. You do need to have things click. I mean, even today, where the White Sox get off to a start where it's like, okay, we got this guy on the ropes in the first inning, they leave opportunities on the table. And, that's frustrating. That's not going to beat a team like this, a team that's even slightly favored, much less a team that's playing strong with increased confidence at home. It's going to be a challenge. So before we take a break and talk, maybe point a little bit more, at least a little bit toward more positive time back in Chicago, I want to know what stood out to you. It doesn't have to be Tony La Russa, but what stood out as the most curious, the most disappointing, or maybe even the most pivotal negative part of this game? Because there were a few junctures that things really started to take a tumble.
I would have to say, start off with a leadoff. They had a leadoff hit or a leadoff runner on, I think in the 3rd, 4th, and then finally scored some runs in the 5th. But like you get back to like those wasted chances. Like if you get a leadoff runner on, somebody's got to hit the ball in the air, and we got to start moving this guy around.
Adrian is opting for team performance, and there's certainly some negativity there, and the team is not coming through the way it needs to, although I see Eloy certainly playing better. Zach, I'm guessing maybe you might see some fault somewhere else.
So I don't disagree at all with Adrian, but I tend to think of it more as like we got to the 5th inning and we put they put 4 runs on Framber Valdez in 4 2/3 inning, which, the guy came in with an ERA below 3. He had a great season. He's a good pitcher.
He was really good in the postseason last year.
He was exactly. And I tweeted at one point today, I was like, can we please put the ball in the air? But he blew away the rest of the league with ground balls. He had, he got ground balls on 70% of the batted balls he had this year. Everything is on the ground. He's like Aaron Bummer, but in starter form. So I think as frustrating as the offense was to an extent, to that point in the game, they kind of did their job. And just the turning point for me is sending Giolito back out in the 5th inning when, it's the third time through the order thing isn't just true for Dallas Keuchel. He was laboring. I know you want him to go out there and get that extra inning and then turn it over to the bullpen, but come on. What do you get him the win? What do you trade for Tepera and Kimbrel for? What do you make these moves for if you're not going to use them when you need them right now?
Yeah. And you've got a day off. So there's not a big concern with burning somebody. Of course, you want to be smart about it.
They just burned their 2 best relievers 2 days in a row.
Yeah. And the idea,
look at the guys who are winning.
The idea, Zach, do you send Giolito out and the guy you're bringing in is Crochet, who's got to have at least a little fatigue. In addition to the fact there's pressure that he hasn't faced, in addition to the fact that he had just pitched, that's the guy. If you've got Hendricks ready and it's okay, Giolito, we'll give you a batter, or maybe we'll give you 2. When it's Crochet, I don't have anybody else, so it's got to be Garrett Crochet. I mean, that starts to really get into that Ricky Renteria.
It kind of was you think all right, well, runners on, we need a double play, left-handed. I would think Bummer would be the guy. We need a ball on the ground right now. That's you don't save your high leverage guys to a later inning because that's a higher leverage the later it gets. You use it when that was the moment. If they don't score there, it's a different ball game the next inning and from then on.
And Tony, Adam Cass, did you hear that?
Oh, sorry, Ethan, not Adam. Or Adam, you can listen too.
Yes,
No, I actually just went and looked at some of the game logs a little while ago too, and Crochet had pitched on short rest on back-to-back days just 4 times all year, and he gave up runs 3 times, 2 runs twice. This is what I'm saying, where it's you would think they should know this.
Yeah, you don't need an advanced scouting staff to tell you that,
right? To maybe, especially when you have a fully fresh bullpen. Aaron Bummer hasn't pitched. Aaron Bummer has had a 180 RA since the All-Star break.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Okay. I don't want to focus too much in because I've put everything on the Russa to this point. And I'm going to mostly continue to do so, but it's it really is just what are we doing? I don't want to sound too biased, but it's tough to. I just don't see it.
Let's not let's not take this off the rails or anything before breaking that. But we are seeing some pushback now, even among people who are writers with our site. We're starting to see a little bit of, and I think Potash had something from the Sun Times where it's in essence, you're on Twitter. You're not an expert. This guy's got rings, or this is so frustrating that there's criticism. It's hold on, Zach, you literally just said you just looked up, I imagine recently, or maybe even for the 6-pack, I don't even know if I made it in there, and saw that Garrett Crochet is not going to execute in the situation he was put in, not because there was no other chance. If there's no choice, you got to throw him out there. If it's him or Leori or Romy Gonzalez, okay, throw Crochet. You did that in, I assume, because you're much wiser than me, 5 seconds you found that information. So I think it's very valid. No, you're not in the hot seat, Zach. I don't think you're in the dugout. I don't think you're having to face the media on Zoom or in a press conference. That said, you found that quickly. You knew what it meant. So I think it's perfectly valid to make these criticisms. The idea that we're supposed to keep our hands off of that because it's he got us a division title. I don't want to hear that. I know we've got more writers on our staff who are what is going on? There's been some very, very smart stuff thrown out there. Luke Smales, I saw great stuff. Tyrone Palmer, I saw great stuff. Really, most everybody throwing out very interesting takes and fair criticisms. The idea that we're supposed to be hands off because why? I mean, Zach, it was the only reason I brought it up is because you just gave me the ideal entree to say you did that in a minute. With consumer available information, I'm guessing you don't have the code. It's the Cardinals database.
we all just had this.
Takes like 7 clicks. Yeah.
Yeah, we all just had this conversation yesterday about Lance Lynn. Like, it doesn't take anybody with a a long baseball resume to take a look and say, hey, there's a lot of at bats here, and Lance Lynn kind of gets lit up by this Houston offense. Like something about the way he throws, they don't seem to have an issue seeing it. But it just is what it is at some point. Like, we don't get to make those decisions. Like, Tony does have more victories than I've ever had in the major leagues, but I mean, Ricky Renteria did too, to be honest. Like, so like that argument only goes so far. Like, it's a team game until it's not a team game. It's like they're gonna win either way. I feel like I'm kind of done arguing with some of the really staunch Tony supporters, but
yeah, so much for Tony's 5D chess of just throwing Lynn to the wolves to lose game 1 and then run the table the rest of the way, because there's a particular pitcher who didn't pitch in this game that perhaps should have, but we're going to address him and maybe look forward to actual happiness in black in the second half of our program. Let's take a quick break and get back to it with Zach Hayes before he has to dash away, and Adrian Serrano. I'm Brett Ballantini. We'll be back in just a second. It is a disappointing postgame podcast number 6 with Southside Sox, but again, we promised it to you, and so we're going to give it to you. I'm Brett Ballantini, your host. I'm lucky enough to have to force myself to be upbeat for every one of these. And look how upbeat I am. Can you hear it in my voice? Sox are down 2-0 in the series. A lot of things that we were promised or thought were going to play out have not played out the way we wished. And to, I guess, pick up from maybe where we left off there in the first half, there is arguably the best weapon on the White Sox pitching staff, who has not even, I think, come close to pitching in games. The White Sox are now in an 0-2 hole. I understand using Michael Kopech in the first 2 games would be like wasting something, or it goes against the 1-2 punch of going with Carlos Rodón. But why in the world has Michael Kopech not been used? And post-game, Tony said, if we needed him to win, we would have pitched him. Help, guys.
Want to start off, Zach? Go ahead.
Tony just said a lot of things post-game. We could ponder for a while.
Irrefutable truth there.
Yeah. I have no inside info or anything. I kind of suspect that they were holding him for a game 4 start if they needed to, or some kind of tandem with Rodón. Or, I mean, for all we know, maybe they'll pull Cease back and send him out there for game 3. They haven't announced Cease yet, as far as I know.
No.
Look, we just saw Tony not throw Bummer until late, not throw Hendricks until late, because he still, for whatever he might have said earlier in the year, he still believes in having his 8th inning guy be his 8th inning guy and his 9th inning guy be his 9th inning guy. So I don't know. I'm just not convinced that it wouldn't surprise me if he was saving him for something that never comes to fruition. That's what I'm trying to say, I guess. It's so
2022.
Yeah.
He'll be fresh. He'll be ready.
Yeah, it really feels like that's probably the case. Like they have this plan in their mind that in case something with Carlos, he can go, but he can't go far enough. They want to have Kopech ready for that. But like, you don't even know if Carlos is going to be able to give you 5 right now, like from what we're hearing. So it's like, how are you making plans for a second guy when you don't even know what's up with the first guy to be part of that plan? Like, you left a starter off. I know he wasn't a good starter, but like, he was a starter. Like, you left a starter off of this roster to, hold on to, Adam or Andrew Vaughn and Engel, who hasn't really done very much, like so far in 2 starts. And then you don't know what's going on with your pitching staff. Like, if you don't know what's going on with Rodón, you got to say, all right, Cease, you're the guy. Get up there and let's see it happen. If it happens, it happens. But we're going to go out with the guys we brought here. And Cease pitched great all year. We got to go with him.
And because I don't know the magic 7 clicks to get that information, because it's probably a secret code that Zach Hayes knows. I don't know this for sure. I know Kopech had a little rougher second half, but I do know they pitched him back to back, I would say with some frequency. And I think that the innings load was significant. I'm guessing he's maybe pitched 5 innings over 2 games, 4 innings over 2 games. So it's not as if someone, and plus, by the way, whoops, we forgot. They're not playing tomorrow. So the idea that somehow he's burned even for Sunday,
even if he had 2 innings
to throw 2,
by
pitching 1 or 2 today, is crazy. What is he? I mean, I imagine he's asking these questions too. What is he sitting for? He is arguably the best arm, maybe the freshest arm on the staff.
What I'll leave you with is that his last two outings, he went 3 innings. I think there were like 3 days apart. I can't remember exactly. His last outing was stretched 51 pitches. That's kind of where I was getting this idea potentially from, that they might be looking to him for at least a 3-4 inning start, but that doesn't cancel out, or that is not mutually exclusive with what you just said. He probably could have pitched yesterday and then still pitched Monday. He probably could have pitched today and still pitched in some capacity on Monday, even if it's just 2 innings with Carlos Rodon doing another 2 or 3. But you got to get there first. And
even in like a mystery situation where Carlos Rodon can't go for whatever reason, and all right, we're going to go with Kopech in that case, but he still wouldn't be going until game 4 at the earliest. You're going to skip over the way Dylan Cease pitched this year to throw Kopech in game 3. It just, none of it makes sense.
The idea that, and I do think that Zach had to dash. I know that he was up against it, but me and Adrian will bring this home. You know what? I think Zach just had to leave because he is trying on different black outfits for Sunday's game, because you can't just make this comment like nothing. But I think what's frustrating about the Kopech situation is, and I guess my point was going to be, Liam Hendriks, Zach made the point about, he's got these specific roles, and Kimbrel, I guess, is the 8th inning guy, not today. And Liam is your 9th inning guy. Well, when they needed their best high leverage guy, and by no means is Liam Hendriks had like a super smooth season, but he's seemingly gained momentum in the second half of this season.
Quite good,
he's pitching the 8th inning in a 5-run or whatever it was game. I know it's easy to go back and still put the puzzle back together differently, or solve the puzzle quicker by looking back at it after the game. But this isn't really Monday morning quarterback. And this is why isn't Liam Hendriks warming up instead of Garrett Crochet or Jose Ruiz? Hendriks probably wants to and could pitch every game of this 5-game series. There's 2 days off in between. He could probably pitch every game, and whether it's the smartest, and you might not need him, but he could. And he's been used now once in a garbage inning, to keep him, warm.
Yeah, exactly. It got to be too many days before he threw, so he had to throw. But yeah, I agree with you. I know, it immediately becomes oh, who are you to question Tony? But this isn't I'm not trying to get deep into the mind of advanced, techniques and managerial skills, because also, if you want to give credit to Tony, or say you can't, say anything fairly, criticize Tony, and then you want to put it on the players for not producing, at some point when everybody down the list keeps being inconsistent or not getting the job done, then it's on the leader, right? And that's the captain of the ship is supposed to have you ready to play in this time. That's what we were told. Don't worry about the big lead, don't ask any questions, enjoy the ride. Tony's got this. He's going to pass on this leadership to the team, and they're going to respond. And you haven't seen that. You saw a little bit from TA's always going to be there, he's trying to do his best, but it's got to be all 26 guys. It's 26 now. 26.
You're hitting on exactly the point or the question that Jackie raised in last night's post game. And that is, because we're all a little down, the team seemed maybe a little flat or on its heels a bit. And, her question was, or her statement was, well, this is what they have Tony La Russa for. I think our agreement was, yes, if there is some way he is going to distinguish himself, we don't know what it is. We're not in the locker room to know. Even if we had media access, we wouldn't necessarily be able to pick up on what goes on in that clubhouse behind closed doors. But presumably in a flat game 1 loss and sort of a must-win game 2, Tony was going to have something to say that will inspire calm, maybe a little red ass. I don't know what the strategy is, but whatever it is. Well, based on what we saw and the fact that Tony had a worse game 2 than game 1, is those initial results, the report card is not good. And people can say, we're just waiting to jump on Tony La Russa. No, I'd love to be wrong. I'd love to see him hit a gear.
I think Tyrone had a tweet about that. He's I can't wait for them to come and rub it in my face that I was wrong. And they came back, miraculously, but everybody yesterday said, calm down. We just got to win this one. And then, we're right back in it. But now here you are, worst case scenario, there haven't been a lot of people that have won 3 in a row, in the postseason because you're playing against great players.
Right. And it's not done.
Somebody's going to get lucky.
They could still win. I mean, I don't know what their actual chances are, 5% now or 10%, whatever it is, 5%, let's say. I mean, of course there is a chance. And all you gotta do is win one, and then, well, those chances increase. And it's not impossible.
You got to win one at a time for 3 in a row. You're not going to think about it as winning 3, but like it's possible, but like it's not the place that you wanted to be in, and it's not the place that you were selling to us a couple months ago, that like we're coasting, but like we're going to be ready when it comes, because we have the ultimate leader and he's got the experience to lead us there. But yeah, I mean, it's just, you out hit the Astros today, but they won. Like it's just, at some point, like we have to always be a little bit of a realist with the fact that like still not a ton of postseason experience throughout this roster. Grandal's got it. They got a couple guys here and there. Hernandez only had, I think, the 2 games last year under his belt. So not a ton. So they're building it. It's nice to see Tim Anderson's not too small for the spot.
Setting records. Yeah,
he is doing what he's doing, and Luis Robert is looking to be as good as we hoped he would. But like again, like we're just repeating the stuff we've been saying since May and April, and kept being told like, no, don't worry about that. No, don't question what they're doing. Like I still don't know what the plan with Kopech is. Like, is he a reliever? Like it looks like right now you're trying to use him how we all wanted to use him, about the All-Star break, like let him start, and then you caught lightning in a bottle with Ronaldo. I just too many guys. I'm burned out on this game today too. But yeah, you caught lightning in a bottle with Ronaldo, then you didn't have to think about it again. But now all of a sudden the playoffs come and you take him out. Like, so now at best, even if he doesn't do some kind of long inning start, he can affect 3 games. Like, well, maybe if he was appearing in 1 or 2, you have Kopech affecting 4 to 5 games. Like I just want my best guys in there as much as possible. Like that's all it comes down to. Like it's not who's the best manager, it's just like Dusty Baker's on the other side too. So it's like,
yeah. And I just thought of this.
He doesn't have any rings. Like, so like, is Dusty not worth the respect because he has no rings? Like, because that's the ring argument with Tony. Like, well, Dusty doesn't have any, but this is like his 15 that he's brought to this point. Like, yeah, at some point you got to expect that the guy has something to do with it, even though it doesn't, always, they don't know how many wins a coach accounts for, but it's some amount. And a guy like Dusty, whatever voodoo he used to teach them that their cheating was actually good and they should not be sad about it. Like he got in there and he got in there, he took control of that clubhouse, he turned them all in one direction, and they're playing well. They're in the postseason. Like
Adrian, he managed Sammy Sosa, so I think he knows how to deal with the fact that people do wrong things to somehow put a smile on it.
And that's why you go out and you sign the older manager in Dusty Baker in that situation, because they knew that they had a problem on their hands. Like they had a mess and they needed a guy to come in there and clean up the mess. And like we were told last year that our manager made a mess and we need somebody to come in and clean it up. And like I'm seeing just kind of the same stuff we saw last year, just some new faces, like.
Quick trivia question. Okay, I'm putting you on the spot. Quick trivia question. Okay. Who has, in this century, more White Sox playoff wins? Tony La Russa or Ricky Renteria, Adrian?
They have the same amount. I think they're tied at 1, aren't they?
Actually, I believe Tony might be trailing him 1-0 because 2-0, he's yet to win. And in fact, here, because you didn't get that right, I'll just answer the second one. Let's talk about career White Sox playoff games, because Tony has won 1 in 1983. He has won 0 in 2021. So their careers, they are tied in playoff wins. So at this point, the veteran manager is not really, it's not convincing me at the moment. I want to be proven wrong.
No, exactly. I want to be proven wrong. Like the reasons you bring in the veteran manager, though, we're not seeing those things. We're not seeing the gamesmanship. We're not seeing them do the little things. We're not seeing them. The fact that they looked flat yesterday in game 1 of the postseason after that season you just had, like, and you're lucky with all the injuries to have been here. Like you thought they'd come in with some energy and you thought that they'd be prepared, but that didn't seem to be the case. I don't know. Like, it's just, you bring in that guy to be the steadying force, and like, they don't really feel steady all the time. Brayu's there and Tim's there, but I don't know what, they all like him. I'll tell you that. I'm surprised, but they like him, but and he's there, and he's not going to get fired. He'll be there next year too. So it's like, let's just win the next one.
Well, I don't want to find out, but if things don't go well, I'll be interested to see how much they like him. I mean, the players, of course, what are they going to say? But there's ways to get those, especially as media access is wide.
You won't really know.
You
won't know until a couple years from now for sure. But.
Yeah. Okay. Let's, before we wrap up, Adrian, I think I already have your answer as to who you think will be the Game 3 starter. I think you think it will be Dylan Cease. Who do you think it has not been announced. Let's make it clear. We don't know if it's Carlos Rodón, Michael Kopech, or Dylan Cease as the Game 3 starter. Has not been announced. Don't expect it's going to be announced until the last possible moment. But let's assume that Dylan Cease is the guy. Who do you think should be, given those three options, or I don't know, some other one? It's Tony. Who knows? Yeah. Who do you think should start Game 3, given the circumstances we're in now?
In the circumstances we're in now, if whatever Carlos Rodón has to do between now and Sunday, that they approve him as 100% physically ready to go, like I think he's the guy. You have to go with the guy that's been the best all year. Dylan Cease has a great year too, but he was nowhere near what Rodón was until the injury at the end of the year. But if you have all questions, like I just can't see why to bring Rodón on to throw 3 innings, and then now we're going to use all the bullpen guys, and then what happens if we do win in the next day? Like, it just opens a lot more questions. Like, I go with Dylan Cease at that point. Like, he's my guy that I feel like, he's an actual starter. He's been there all year. I'm going to roll my dice, and like, our season's on the guys that got us here, and we're going to live with that.
Yeah, I like the idea, given the circumstances and given the fact that, surprise, Michael Kopech is still super fresh. I do think the move in this desperation game, if only because it is a little bit more of a combo punch to Houston, is you go Rodón started and you have the plan. You hope it's 3 innings. Maybe it gives you more. Maybe it's going to be only 2. And then you go to Kopech, and hopefully those guys can get you at least through 6. And then who knows, maybe you can use your traditional roles. And like, I don't know if Craig Kimbrell ever touches the ball as a White Sox again, but I mean, maybe Liam takes the last 3 innings because everybody apparently is like super fresh and ready to go. I think the traditional move of Dylan Cease being your number 3 guy maybe gets kicked down to number 4, because you got to throw something at these guys.
And then, like, as much as like that makes sense, like also like it just immediately takes me back to the elimination game last year. And here we are, like, we have Dylan Cease, who's got really good stuff, but instead of him, we're going to go with some guys that hopefully get us 1 to 3 innings, and we're just going to chain them all together. And then, we know how that ended, Dunning gets 2 batters or whatever.
Yeah, no, it's risky. I mean, I hope we can feel better and it's less patchwork than it was a year ago when the White Sox truly didn't have anything but 2 starters, because even CeCe is out of the pen. It was like, we don't know what to expect from him. Lopez, of course, didn't know what to expect from him. That was a mess. It feels like we're creating our own mess this year with actual tools we've sort of dropped in the toolbox. Last year it was just like Ricky. I mean, I don't want to be a Ricky apologist here. I think he got a very strange deal from the White Sox, but I mean, given that he was like, presumably, we still don't know the reason, of course, presumably fired for that performance, or significantly that performance, which was certainly
at least between that and them thinking that with who was becoming available, that they thought they could significantly upgrade. They weren't just going to get a guy that was a little better. They were going to try to significantly upgrade. But yeah, like,
that didn't play out the way
right back.
So like,
thought. So 2020 they have 2 starters that we're confident in, and then who knows? And now it feels like we have 2 starters, and who knows? Like, I mean, honestly, like, I don't know how we can make a case for Kopech coming in and pitching long relief, or even as a starter, a small start, a short inning starter, over the way Ronaldo's been pitching. Like, Ronaldo has much more experience, and the pitch count to do that. If you want some guy to get you 3 to 4 innings, like, he could do that. Like, I don't understand why the biggest weapon coming in has to be, we still don't know what his role actually is on the team. It's just crazy to think, like, we don't know what the role of the 2 closers we have, or the best, get stuff of the guy coming in from the bullpen. And I don't know how we're in the postseason and still really don't have a grasp on that, as somebody that watches, hundreds of games.
Yes, when that's the reason this guy apparently was put in charge. Again, not even micromanaging the mistakes or putting things on him that he doesn't deserve. I think you can make a big argument. A lot falls on La Russa, but this was exactly the thing he was supposed. We were told in that like first press conference, Ethan Katz was the one who said it. He is micromanaging spring training to the point where the bench coach is supposed to do all the planning for spring training. Tony's doing it. Yeah. So how in the world? All right. Well, I mean, clearly we will not get answers. We do not have access to the.
We're never going to have answers to that.
Exactly. So let's talk before we wrap this up, Adrian. Let's just talk about you're not going to be able to be there for Blackout number 1, and I don't know. Is game 4 is also a night game though? Correct.
I don't know. They won't release it unless the Sox win a game. They didn't release it earlier today because I checked. It still was not available.
Yeah, I thought it got trickled out, but maybe that was a mistake. I did see one of the beats did tweet, and I think it was a night game. But yeah, maybe they pulled that back.
I'm surprised if it wasn't a night game because they don't know if anything else is going 5 right now.
That's true. That's true. So you may get to be part of that experience. But I mean, what are you looking forward to as a viewer come Sunday night? With just maybe old grainy Fox footage of Blackout 2008.
I am hoping that they just make a decision and announce tomorrow who the starter is going to be. Like, I do think it wears on the players when up to the minute, like they don't really know. The fact that we had multiple lineups written yesterday, like, well, the players also want to know. They want to be settled in. This is the playoffs. Everything's amped up. They're, anxious as it is. And like, you're giving them more reason now to like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what position I'm playing. Am I playing first? Am I DHing? You don't want that coming in. But yeah, I'm looking forward to them coming out energized. I want that the place is going to be rocking. And I just want to see them, play a game. I want to see them play how they know they can, regardless of what happens in the series.
Yeah, let's hope it's at least a game where you feel it's being fought. That's what was so great about game 2 is that it really was. It had the makings of a classic game, and then it just sort of fell apart. Again, whose fault? I mean, obviously players and management, but boy, it really looked like we had a classic on our hands, and it did not turn out to be a classic, Adrian. I would not put that in the library. Yeah. We will have a pregame podcast for Sunday's game because there's going to be a long wait before Sunday night. So that will be out earlier Sunday. We'll have full coverage as we've had. We will have a post-game podcast for Sunday. Hopefully that is going to be celebrating a victory and sending Adrian off to a game 4 decked out in black. Invested. Hopefully, but either way, we will be doing a post-game, and we'll be continuing playoff in-depth coverage as long as we can do it, as long as the White Sox will let us do it. Otherwise, we'll just roll into all our off-season stuff. But Adrian, thank you for joining me again on this podcast. Thanks everybody for listening and watching and reading us, of course. Big participation in the boards. It's pretty negative these days, but hopefully we'll clean that up with a nice game 3. We'll be back with you with a podcast sometime early Sunday. We'll see you till then.